Welcome to the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. The podcast that will connect you to resources regionally and nationwide to engage them in open, honest discussions so that we can inspire the growth that you need to chase the experience you want. So strap yourself in because here we go. Welcome to another episode of the Chasing Your Experience podcast. Well, this is it. This is the finale. This is the last one of the mini-series with the Scrape Dr. James Holm. And with that being said, let's welcome James Holm back to the podcast. James, how are you, sir?
Hey, Sean, how you doing tonight? We're doing good over here. Yeah, I'm excited to do this. I'm excited about this episode in particular because, well, look, this is where it all culminates right here. This is where it all comes together, and this is where we get what we came for, right? What is this? This is the big reward right here.
The big
now
reward.
We get it right there. It's the grip and grin. It's what we're here for. It's the whole point. It's why we did everything we did. So yeah, we're just going to get right. I think we should just get right into this and talk about some of these people and talk about some of these deer that have been taking over our products, different states, all over the country, truthfully. A lot of first bucks for people, a lot of biggest bucks for people, a lot of mature bucks in general taking over our products. So we're excited by that. The number of kills this year increased over last year by double digits. So we're excited to hear that. And they continue to trickle in as we get through into the summer and guys start to talk more again. So more and more and more are coming in now as we talk. And by the time we get to show season, the last fall shows, even more people will come forward. And at this point, I do believe that we're at 33 confirmed is how many bucks we killed on our products. So, and last year was 23.
It's growing. It's growing. Well, before we get too far ahead, ladies and gentlemen, for everyone watching and listening, this is episode 5 of 5. So if you are just now tuning in to this mini series and you're listening to this as episode 5, I got to tell you, pause it, stop it, go back to the playlist, find episode number 1 of this, starting with Y, and then make sure you follow along from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Not because I'm trying to get the views. The views are nice. Don't get me wrong. I love the views. But for you to understand where we're at and how we got here, you really seriously need to go back and listen to those other podcasts. So this is episode 5 of 5. So there's 4 more ahead of this one, where we've covered a wide range of topics from starting from why to talking about the right scents to use, to talk about the right placement, to talk about the right height, to talk about also what happens if you're not seeing the activity you're looking for, the reset, and all those things are covered in previous episodes, which will ultimately lead you to what we're about to talk about tonight. And as James already told you, we're going to be talking about that great reward, the reason why we're doing all this work and putting all this time and effort into the mock scrape systems.
Yeah.
So there it is. And, before I'll just throw this out here. Like for me, it was immediate action on the ropes. Like as soon as the ropes were up, I went out, set them up, and, hit them with a little bit of the scrape magic. And then I walked away. And in some locations, it was less than 2 hours, and I had deer on them, checking them out already. Yeah. So obviously, right there is enough for me to be satisfied with what I've started. It doesn't matter if it had antlers on its head. These were, groups of does that were coming into it. Eventually, the antlers would show up, but the does were definitely hot and heavy on these, which I think anybody who's serious about deer hunting, like if you've got does there, you're eventually going to have bucks there because they're going to be coming there looking for those exact does at some point in time. So I got to say, like that to me, just that was worth the effort just to start getting that pattern, start seeing those photos right out the gate. But I'm not the star of this one. The star of this one is going to be all the stories that you're able to share with us, with other users, and their successes. So I'm not going to take up too much of the spotlight on this one, but I just want to get that out there. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I mean, that what you're saying is that's just as important to me as somebody that's now behind this buck with the grip and grin. I mean, that your story's just as important because now what? Okay, so Sean isn't behind a buck right now smiling because he knocked down his biggest buck ever. Nope, he sure isn't. But guess what? He got instant reactions in his scrape. He's had action like he's never really seen in his scrapes before. He's had that kind of success, which means he's going to keep doing what he was doing. He has faith in the system. He's going to continue on with what he's doing. And guess what? This year, Sean gets to be the one with the big reward because he's going to follow the program the way that it should be followed, honestly. And that's as simple as that. Your turn's coming. It's just a matter of following along with the system. You just don't get the Amazon buck. That's all. So I appreciate your story and stories like yours as much as I do the actual kill stories. And truthfully, my favorite stories to hear are the first stories. You know, the people that, I got my first. I really don't care what it was. If it was a doe, a buck, a button buck, a fawn, doe fawn. If it's your first, it's your first. You never get one of those again, no matter what it is. So those are truly my favorites. The youth, the kids really, honestly, are the best. You know, and we had, I really don't have a number. I'm guessing if I pick a number. I know for 100% there were 4 kids under the age of 12 that got their first bucks on our stuff. And one of those bucks we'll talk about in another little segment coming up here. One of those bucks scored 160 plus for an 11-year-old. So we'll be talking about that buck specifically and several others here in just a few minutes. But yeah, like you said, the stories that I get these, and that's the other part about being in the chair that I'm in now. When we hand out all these business cards and the trifolds and all that stuff at the shows and everywhere that I go, that I meet people and, you know, I get invited to speak to people at events or whatever the case may be. You know, when you hand out the business cards, you hand out the trifolds that got all the contact information, you know, and it's, for me, most of that is rarely about a sale. It usually ends up just being a conversation. You know, somebody will call with a question. Simple as that. And does that lead to a sale the bulk of the time? Usually, yeah. But that's not always really what it's about. It's that connection with the customer. You know, I don't want them just to call and get a simple answer. Yes, do this, do this, do this, and then you hang up and that's that. You know, when you call me, I want you to have me. So we pride ourselves in that, being that connected to the customer still, that mom and pop, if you will, that if you call that phone number on that business card or on that trifold, you get the scrape doctor. That's who you get, not some guy, you know, that might know what answer he's going to give you. And he might have to flip through some paper that somebody gave him because he's answering the phone for him. So you're getting the real deal if you call me.
That's actually a really important point to make. And I had experience with this just recently. I'm not going to name the product, not going to go down there. But let's just say that I was having some issues with something and I called the 1-800 number on it. And it was answered by, it sounded like almost like one of those conglomerates. Like it definitely was not the title or the name of the company that I originally had purchased this from. And it said, hey, business hours, this and this, leave us a message. We'll get back to you. Great. So I did. And now I'll give them credit. They did call me back. I think it was like the next day or so. They called me back and they left me. I just missed the call and they were leaving me a voicemail. So I went ahead and called them back. You know, someone else answered the phone. I said, hey, I just got a phone call from so-and-so. Like, okay, I'll transfer you back. So they transferred me back to, you know, that operator. And I was talking to them and I asked, was asked a couple questions. And they told me, it was like, well, we actually had to call the owner of the original company. And because I really don't know much about these things because they're just a third party answering service, what it sounds like, and didn't know anything about the product, but yet they were the one who called me and told me to, hey, try this, this, and this. And from what you told us, the owner thinks you're doing this. So try something a little bit different and then let us know.
Yeah.
So
Probably
that's very
the worst.
frustrating.
Yeah, that's terrible.
If I call somebody, like I would, especially if I'm calling you about a product that is yours, I would certainly hope that whoever answers the phone knows what they're talking about.
Right.
So, it says something, when things stay close to home like that and you're able to answer the questions and actually know what you're talking about.
I mean, and my whole life has been customer service based. I was retail management for 20 plus, so that's all customer service based. So it's just kind of what I do. And if it's not 100%, then you're doing it wrong. If somebody is unhappy, they need to be made happy, no matter. Doesn't matter. That person should be made happy, I might be unhappy in the end. Behind the scenes, I can be as unhappy as I want. But that person is going to get what they want, and they're going to be made happy, and they're going to be satisfied because they're not going to walk away with anything bad to say, or how their situation was handled. They may not end up a customer in the end. That just may happen, but they won't have anything bad to say about me on the other side of that, on the customer service side. Say what you want about my stuff, but you'll never be able to say anything bad about my customer service, no matter. You can if you'd like, but you're telling a lie.
Well, speaking of happy customers, let's start talking about some of those happy customers you've had. So what do you want to start this at?
Well, let's see. Let's start with the first message that I got in 2024. I woke up at probably 4:30. It was 4:30 or so in the morning on, I think it was end of September. It's September 27th or 8th, I believe. I can't remember the exact date. And I got up, I turned on the coffee, poured a cup of coffee, and I sat down and picked up my phone. And I had a message from a customer that said, "Hey, getting ready to hit the woods. It's our opener." And I'm like, man, it's pretty, it's early, it's warm. I wouldn't want to have to deal with the bugs, the ticks. So anyway, I said, well, good luck, best of luck, man. I hope, send me pictures right away if you do any good, da, 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 da. So I go on with my business, and I'm on the thing answering emails or something. And I get a thing flashes across, and I look up on my phone, and it says, look at this blood trail. Well, I'm done checking emails now. So click on the message, and I open it, and it's Greg. And I'm like, oh, wow, look at that. And then it's a video, and the blood trail goes super like this, and then there's the deer. There's the buck laying there. Swear to God, it wasn't 20 minutes into the 2024 season for us, and we had our first buck on the ground. So it kind of started there. And then October comes, and it was just kind of like rapid succession of pictures coming in. Some really nice Michigan deer. I mean, some super nice deer in the upper 130s, just super nice bucks. And it went from there to a little boy named Eddie in Indiana. I met him the year before in Shipshawana, and set him all up. He had to have, he knew what he wanted to have. He picked out all of his own stuff. Dad and Grandpa took him out, and he picked out his own places, and said, as soon as I get my buck, I'm gonna call you. I said, okay. I said, I'll be waiting. So of course, I didn't remember Eddie. You know what I mean? I'll admit that. This is months after I'd met Eddie, so here we are, like mid-October. Notification comes across my phone. I'm actually in the woods doing something. I don't know what I was doing. And I look, and it's Eddie's dad. So I open the message, and there's a picture of Eddie. Grip and grin behind his buck. I sent you the picture. You have the picture of him. So his first buck did exactly exactly what I told him the deer was going to do. It did. And then that was the result. So, this kid's 9, I think 8 or 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's hooked on deer in general already, and now the mock scrape thing. And now he killed this. In his mind, it's just a monster of a buck, and
Mm-hmm.
most people would shoot that buck. It was probably a 15 or 16-inch 8-point, beautiful
Mm-hmm.
little buck. So
Mm-hmm.
hooked for life, this kid will be a customer for life. He'll be a friend of ours for life, you know,
That's awesome.
and that's truly what matters is the memory and the connection with the people. So then
Absolutely.
Eddie goes through, we get Eddie, his first deer, and then Adam, we've got Adam, the big Adam that you met in Columbus there, his son,
Mm-hmm.
first deer this year off our stuff. So there, and then let's see, we fast forward through that, we get through into rifle season in most places now. And now the big buck states are starting to pop off. I'm starting to get pictures now from places like Missouri and Illinois, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
All these
Mm-hmm.
big buck states are starting to roll pictures in now. One real big buck come in out of Missouri, probably in the upper 50s. One out of Illinois in the high 60s. And then Ohio, Northwest Ohio, where this 164-inch buck that we just talked about got taken. Okay. That deer, that location in particular, we're going to talk about that. Customer who has since become a very, very good friend, Aaron Blake, and his family, his wife Jackie, his daughter Hannah, and their friend's son Colton, and myself they've been gracious enough to allow me to hunt this area with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so Aaron was one of my biggest ha-has at my stuff in the beginning. He foo-fooed me a lot. Go away with that. Get out of here with your witchcraft. Go. So he said, give me one of those and I'll show you how to really use it. So I said, okay. So I gave him one in a bottle of Scrape Magic, and he didn't have it in the woods just a few hours, and called me, wanted to know how he could get as many as possible as fast as I could get him to him, because they're the greatest thing he's ever used now. Total 360, it's great, right? So fast forward, he gets a really huge buck on camera in one location. He can't close the deal on him, so he's hunting 2 locations at the same time. This is 3 years ago when he first starts using our stuff and running our system. He gets to the other location, ends up just smashing a beautiful buck, right? So he's done. Ohio's obviously 1 buck. So that year he kills that buck, and I'm not sure what it scored. It was in the upper 140s, maybe even a little over 150.
Nice deer.
The following season comes along. Same deal. He's still got that giant buck in that other location. Back and forth hunting both locations.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely just crushes a 9-point in the opposite location again. And this thing, I'm sure you've seen pictures of this one. It's just a monstrous 9-point that's 24 inches wide, I think, or something like that on the inside. So now this location, this just rope squared and Scrape Magic combo location is it's on fire, right? I mean, there are deer there constant. It's continuous. There just never aren't deer in that area in the vicinity of the rope. So now we're into last season, 2024. Aaron says early in the year, he says, dude, this is the year. He said, this is the year that buck is back in there again. He said, and he's got 2 buddies with him that are even bigger. I said, there's no way that they're bigger. Come August, here comes the pictures, and by golly, they're bigger. Way bigger, right? So, again, the other property. Now he's decided to just leave that alone and let it be what it is, not intrude at all. Okay? It's small. I mean, and I agreed with him on this one. Just let it be. You've got something else going on right now. So This is where Aaron goes in and he sets up a stand, and on this just a rope squared in 6 days, 4 mature bucks were taken off that stand. An 11-year-old boy named Colton killed a buck out of that stand that's 164 and 3/8 inches.
You said four,
right?
Mature
bucks off one location, yeah, in 6 days. And there was a fifth buck. There was a fifth buck that was on the daylight pattern, and I couldn't get away or couldn't get to it to hunt it, and there was nobody else with a tag. So guess who survived? Now he's back. We just got 2 sets of pictures of him last night. He's back on that rope. He can't, and he brought his friends with him, girls and boys this time. So you go, this kind of can lead us into, we can put a little filler in with our success stories. We can add a little more context and information to this for people. This is where you get, a lot of people will tell you that your bachelor groups of bucks are just that. That's all you're going to see is bachelor groups together, separate from your groups of does and fawns and family groups that way, which clearly from the pictures and the videos that we collect and get, that's not true. They cohabitate. Right. They're not doing this big, I think truly that was a way to sell things and to get ideas across to people that, okay, you've got does that are summering over here and your bucks are summering over here, and this is going on over here. Well, honestly, if you think about it and you rationalize what you're saying about that, all that is an excuse to why you can't keep those deer on your property. Why are they leaving and going to your neighbors? Because everywhere we set these systems up and give them what they need, they don't. Why would they leave? I mean, other than size of the property, that would be the only thing to keep big groups of deer from staying there. They run out of resources, Right. But it doesn't mean they're not going to wander and feed other places and come back there. That's still the core. You still created that core. I obviously like to call it other things. I call it the buffer zone, but however, if they stay, they stay no matter what it's called. If they're there, they're there. So, but anyway, yeah, there's a little tidbit of that. We can stop with that now because that'll go for another hour just on that subject. Because I've been reading some stuff. I've been, like we always talk about, I read a lot of stuff. I learn from a lot of people. But I sure have been reading some stuff recently that I 100% disagree with. I don't want to get into a big thing with it right now. You know what I mean? But I'm certainly reading some things from some people that I 100% disagree with what they're saying.
I know you don't get too deep in it, but what's one thing that you've heard? We're talking about, I'm reading a lot of stuff now about deer bedding and specific bedding locations and things you can do to enhance bedding or can't do to enhance bedding. And to say that you can't do things to your property and encourage deer to bed there and in those very specific places is just hogwash. You can create that and cause deer to use it on a very regular basis. Is it going to be the only place they bed? Absolutely not. Because deer bed where they want to bed when they want to do it for the most part. Correct. But for security purposes and things where the deer need to act I can't imagine that someone believes that a deer is any different than any other creature where if they're feeling pressured or whatever, they're going to go find a place and hide. Correct. Not just lay down in bed. They're looking for somewhere to hide and avoid. They're looking for that, what is it called? Oh, the safe space. That's what it is, a safe space. So I don't know. That's without going too far down that rabbit hole. That's one of the things, and I guess the whole buddy's back on feeling like they need to validate again with this age. It's more the age class now I'm starting to see
We got to validate the age class of our bucks. Well, he was 4.5. Doesn't he's 5.5.
Yeah.
And again, we're back on well, he isn't the oldest buck I ever killed or the biggest, but well, no, he isn't. But guess what? He's not getting any older, and he won't ever get any bigger. Congratulations.
So that takes me down a couple roads,
yeah.
and I've heard this come up about the age class again. And I'm not going to name who it was, but I heard them. They run a pretty popular podcast, and they're big deer. That's the only thing they want to shoot is big deer. Let's just, they might disagree, but whenever you hear them talk, that's all they talk about is they just want to shoot big deer. And they are complaining about how states are running their deer programs because all they want us to do is shoot more does. They want us to shoot more does, but guys aren't in it for does. They want to shoot bucks. And so if they would start managing for age classes for this, it would be better. And I'm like, I don't think you guys, you're missing the ball here. But anyways,
yeah.
So, and then the next thing is the whole like, well, it wasn't the biggest or it wasn't the oldest. And that irritates me a little bit, not because you said it, but because, well, if that's the case, then why did you shoot it if you weren't happy with it?
Right. Well, that's just saying it out loud, though. If that's the first thing they lead with when they post pictures on it, that's to deflect from the guys that are always out there that say, well, you should have let that go a year. Why'd you shoot that buck? I would have never killed that deer. Well, good.
You know what? You could wait and shoot a deer that's 8 years old and someone will still tell you, oh, you should have gave that deer another year.
Yeah, right.
I can't believe you thought that deer. Should have gave him another year. You're not, this whole social media stuff and people getting trolled on social media, like, listen, it's got to stop. Or either that or, you're just going to get thick skin because it doesn't matter what you do. Somebody's going to have a problem with what you did. And half the time, and most of the time, it's probably not even people that do what we do. Like they probably just some random person got on there and just wanted to run their mouth.
It's just trolls is all it is. People that want to hate and just say stuff because they don't have anything else to do, but so but that part is what it is. And, I don't know. There's a lot of things that honestly I could talk about that we could talk about, you know what I mean? That have very little to do with what I do. They're just random opinions about things going on in the industry and not going on in the industry. And I do like
I think
that I see some people and some YouTube TV shows and other things headed towards more of it's a deer camp experience kind of thing instead of it's got to be the biggest buck that walks in this square. If it's not a 5.5-year-old 10-point, I shot the wrong buck. I can remember going to deer camp when the biggest 8-point on the buck pole was the talk of the block. And all it took was an 8-point, a big 8-point. 17, 18 inches wide was a monster. And I don't know where we got away from just being happy for someone that does do that. I mean, is it the buck that some of these guys that are killing giants, are they going to will they even pick their bow up? Nope, they won't. Will I pick mine up? Maybe. Game time decision on a lot of this stuff for me.
Well, I will say this, like this culture, I think is missing the bigger picture. And I don't know if they want to listen to what the bigger picture is. So by the time this airs, my interview my podcast with the deer biologist or the deer program administrator here in Ohio has aired. We are talking about the number of antler deer that were shot in Ohio, and we're starting to get towards record numbers. Every year, we are starting to break records every year. And, the Buckeye Big Buck Club, there has to be 140 and above for typical and 160 and above to be non-typical to get entered into it. And that's how him and I kind of got together was through that connection. And he's talking about, we're getting more deer in the Buckeye Big Buck Club. Like technically there are more deer coming into it, but the percentage of the bucks that are shot is that make it into the club is getting lower and lower and lower every year, like because we're shooting more and more bucks, but the structure of them is not as high. And so like the quality of our deer, the quality of the whether you want to say age structure, whatever, or just the quality of itself is declining.
Yeah.
And he's like, part of it is because of the overpopulation of the deer. And there's a few other factors, there's a few other things that go into that. But the big buck hunters, they're missing the bigger picture. Like, if we're continuing the direction we're going to go towards, that percentage is going to keep dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. And the quality is going to go down to where all of a sudden, like, the things you had will no longer be, and we'll have to fight to get them back to where they were. And you're going to have to make some decisions and concessions of what you consider. And I got to be honest with you, like, I hate to say this, but honestly, we're getting to the point now where I think that has to happen because land prices are ridiculous here in Ohio. Lease pricing is getting ridiculous in Ohio. I don't lease. Like, I refuse to lease. If it comes down to that, I don't know what I'm going to do. Right now, I'm hunting nothing but permission properties. If I ever have to lease something, I seriously don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
But the cost of it's getting ridiculous. And it's all driven because of people trying to get away from other people because they're all chasing that mythical big buck. That's the only reason they're doing it.
Yeah.
They're not trying to manage deer herds. They're not trying to manage anything. They just want to shoot that one big buck, and that's all they care about.
Yeah.
And there is
inches. That's all they're chasing.
And there is acres upon acres upon acres upon acres of land where hunters have been displaced from because of that very thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't get me wrong. I would love to shoot a big buck. I'm okay with that. Like, I get that. The fact that it's gotten so bad, and that's the only thing that matters to most people. And like I said, I've mentioned those other guys from the podcast. So like, that's the only thing people think about. Yeah. And so to cover that point, I know we're getting away from what we were talking about, but to cover that point, when we started talking about killing more does or shooting more does or antlerless deer here in Ohio, we started the landowner partnership with hunters here in Ohio called OLAV, where they're giving them money. The state's giving landowners money to open their land up for hunting, right? And I said, so why don't we expand that to where we open permissions to where there be properties that you can only go in and shoot does. Like, they're just looking for people to shoot does. And the biologist is like, that would never work because most of the properties people are keeping you out because they don't want you messing with their bucks. They are afraid that if you go in there, you're going to scare that buck away. Yeah. I'm like, I hunt a property. There's a handful was 180 acres. All right. And this is what gets me. Like, you're worried about nothing is what you're worried about. In my opinion, you are worried about nothing. I have shot does off of actually one of our most popular spots in one of the properties that we had. We shot multiple does off of that. And that's the location that the big buck I sent you pictures of was coming to. Yeah. And we have shot multiple does off of that same exact spot. Yeah. He was daylighting there. Daylighting. He came out at night sometimes, but he was still daylighting in that spot. You can't tell me that if you have people go in there, and I'm fired up. I'm sorry. You can't tell me you can't let some people in here to help you manage your doe populations. And to be honest with you, you don't even have to go deep to get them. Let them hunt the fringes. I guarantee you, they're going to get a few of those does off of there. Yeah. Like, you can't tell me that's going to interrupt your bucks. You can't tell me that, because nowhere in the history of ever, in my experience, and we got neighbors that hunt next to us. We're not isolated. It's a about 170 some acre farm. The other one's a 70 acre farm. It doesn't matter. I go in there, I shoot does, they shoot does. We still got big bucks showing up. Yep. I'm sorry. I don't buy into that. I really don't. But hey, you know what? Everyone's got their own experience in this, and I get that. But that stuff fires me up though. Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah. I do not want to see hunting become a rich man's game, and that's what it's becoming. It is. It's going to be about shooting. It's going to be shooting. We're going to go exactly what England did. And it's going to be about shooting the king's deer. And you're going to have money to be able to shoot the king's deer. So you're either going to have to lease land, own land, or you're going to have to pay some outfitter some outrageous price to go shoot a deer. Yeah, you're not wrong. Ridiculous. I mean, you're not. I get it. People are tired of other people getting in the way. I understand that. but we got to do something.
Yeah.
We've got to do something. But anyways, I'm done on my soapbox right now. I'm sorry, I kind of stole the show,
Oh,
but I got
I'm
freaking
good with
fired.
it. It's stuff that needs to be said. It's
I
got
got
to be
fired
said.
up about that.
Just and
It's
like I said, it's kind of my fault. I started the whole thing with, because there's just so much of that, and that whole doe thing is kind of oh, don't kill does, don't kill does, don't kill does. Well, why not? Well, because all the neighbors around you are killing plenty. Don't kill any off your place. I disagree with that. I'm not saying that my property I got to kill 30 does off of it either. You know what I mean? Some years
right.
some years it's 2, some years it's 8 or 10. It just depends, and everybody thinks that, oh, I'm going to shoot a bunch of does, that it's going to be a bunch of 150, 60-pound does. No, it's probably not, because I'm probably going to smack a bunch of little ones, those mid-pack deer, and maybe a fawn or two. Just depends. Game time, again, game time decision, If I'm overrun with deer, the fawns are the ones up here. Those littlest deer are the ones that are going to not make it through the winter up here, that are going to suffer. They'll be the fatalities in the winter, and the winter kill. Coyotes get them, blah, blah, blah. But why? With the way our deer have been managed here and the amount of tags that we can get for antlerless deer, I can shoot 2 or 3 of those little ones, save them the aggravation later. And they eat great.
Well, they do here, but here's one thing that the biologist did say. He's like, it doesn't matter what bag limits we set. Like we can increase the bag limit. We're still going to get the same number of deer shot, because he's like, the percentage of people who actually shoot more than one deer here in Ohio is a very small percentage. Yep. It's like, the majority will shoot one deer. Yep. That's it.
I can't remember. We're talking. The percentage on our second buck tag here is very low. Like, I think I can't, don't quote me, but I think somebody said 28%, which is ungodly low for the amount of tags that get sold here. I think even 4% of hunters will bag more than 2. 4%. 4%. That's pretty low numbers. 4%, and you can shoot up to 6. And most of our counties are 3 deer counties where you can shoot 3 deer. Yeah, see, here we get 10 doe tags, antlerless tags. Yeah. And they're good the whole state, doesn't matter where. State land, private land, all of it. So it's not what the state's doing, what they allow to happen. Right. It's what we do as hunters. And if there's only a small percentage of us that's shooting more than one deer, then we're never going to hit the numbers that they want to hit. No. And I've got news for people. Eventually they're going to have to take steps. Like, they already do call programs in some locations because the habitat's getting destroyed. Yeah. And a lot of that is like in state property, state farms, or, state forests, things like that. Or, some national locations, because they're destroying the wildlife is destroying the habitat because there's too many of them. And so they go in there and they shoot. They go in there and they shoot and kill them. Yeah. Now, what they do with them, I can't say for sure, but it's my understanding that they donate them to like the food banks and stuff, like the same avenues, like farmers and hunters feeding the hungry and things like that. They go through things. Yeah, to go through and that's what they do with the deer. They donate them. Yeah. So, anyways, so let's talk about more about successes. Let's talk about some more rewards. So I got on my soapbox for a minute. No, sorry. It's all good. It's all good. I like it. So then let's see, Adam killed a great buck this year. We had lots of footage of, lots and lots of videos and pictures of this buck working a poison ivy. He was caught between 2 different poison ivies. And he wouldn't leave. He just stayed there. And Adam caught him. He was going in and caught him in between the 2 when he got the day that he shot him. Middle of the day, like 11:15 in the morning. I think he got him in November with his crossbow. Nice, super nice buck, old deer. It's 6.5, 7.5. It's an old deer, super, super tall. And then let's see. Yeah, then
What's a
Aaron
little bit of
went
the
on
story
another
behind that?
tear. Go ahead.
What was a little bit of the story behind that? Then how did how did the system help him with that?
Oh,
You know?
geez, that deer we had. Let's see, just that season we
Mm-hmm.
had him. We started getting pictures of him probably in mid-June. He showed up the first time in a food plot on the poison ivy, and then showed up on the other poison ivy that same day about 2 hours later. Well, then he was bouncing back and forth between those two. Well, there was another set of vines and stuff hanging in there that were just natural with no camera.
Mm-hmm.
So he was kind of bouncing between all of those. Um, the year before, he was on a different part of the farm. And this place is big that Adam's on. It's 700 acres. So he was on a different part of the farm on a whole nother setup that we had over there. All ropes, no poison ivies, no vines, just rope. And he daylighted there the whole time. We never got a picture of him in the dark on that part of the
Mm-hmm.
farm. And then he just disappeared. Figured he died. Nobody that hunted the farm killed him. Figured he died.
Right.
Just figured he ran himself ragged and died, because we knew he was old. Well, then get him to next year, he shows back up. And we're like, oh, look, he's back. And Adam said, oh, that's awesome. He said, hopefully he'll hang around and I'll get a chance at him, or somebody will.
Mm-hmm.
He just kind of stayed. He was there all the time. He stayed on that end of the farm. And he just, like I said, kept running that circuit. And then he did disappear around, it was just after the first week of November. So probably like the 10th of November, he vanished, just gone.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody panicked, thought he was dead. The neighbors got him. I said, he's not on the neighbors. I said, he didn't go anywhere. He's somewhere laid up with the doe. I said, you just aren't seeing him. I said, he's staying off the cameras. Well, I can't remember the date, honestly. November 27th, I think. Adam texted me at like 11:15 and said, hey, I just sent it into that big 8, sent one into that big 8. I said, well, where is he at? I said, did he run off? Well, he shot him he was bedded, and he walked up on him in his bed, and he never got up when he shot him. He just stayed in the bed, and then finally got up and just kind of walked around a little bit and tipped over. He didn't run. He didn't leave. He wasn't very far from the poison ivy. He was just kind of hanging out, I think. Behind it, he was behind it on the downwind and downhill side of it. And I think he was laying there waiting on that buck to come. Well, the buck that came, like I tell everyone, he better hope that buck doesn't show up, because it's you. And he's in trouble. Well, that's exactly what happened. Adam showed up. He wouldn't get out of his bed, and he let him have it, right in his bed. And Adam took pictures of the whole sequence. We've got it all, from the shot of him in the bed with the bolt in him. You can see the bolt. He got up, and then it just fell out the other, because it was a pass through, but it wouldn't go out because it was stuck in the dirt. And then when he got up, it finally fell out. And it just seemed like a really surreal thing, because it seemed like it took a really long time for it to end and for the deer to die, but it was fast. But in our minds, it was taking forever, because we were both watching it real time through, he's sending me pictures as it's happening. So I was getting it almost as real as he was.
That's awesome.
So that's about as much of that story as I've got.
That's a good story.
Yeah. And then, we've got Calvin up here, one of my other good friends. He doubled up. He killed an 8 and a 9, both super nice bucks. And I don't know, they were relatively close together. They were a couple 3 days apart, not very far. Nick Aaron, his first buck on his property, first buck with his bow, 3rd year into the system. Again, that 3rd year, you have to trust the system, and Nick is probably the poster child for patience for me. and being patient and waiting for the system to do what it does. His property is a weird layout and a weird setup, and it was like he would get sparks of activity. It would spark like it was gonna go, and I'd be like, yeah, we got it, it's going now, finally. And then it would just peter out. Nothing would happen after that. So it finally, on towards the end of the second year, it really lit up at a weird random time when you wouldn't think that it would. All the deer just showed up out of nowhere, and it was just it was on from there. That guy put in a ton of work, added a food plot by it. He hauled in pea gravel for drainage and then dumped dirt on top, brought dirt in, hauled that in, and had to cross a creek with a wheelbarrow on a plank to get his dirt to the back of his property where he built his food plot. So, I mean, this guy's doing it, putting in a gob of work, and then I go there, I do the consultation, we set the stuff up for him, and there's your reward. The culmination of all that work and all that effort and all that wonder. Is it really worth it? Am I wasting my money and my time? No, because now look what you've got. You've got there's your ultimate reward. That's what you were after. That buck. So, and now already he's just sent me pictures now going into, this is his 4th year with our system, and his very first bachelor group has showed up. It's got 5 bucks in it.
Nice.
And one of those bucks is a banger, truly a mature one. I can't wait to see this thing when he comes out. He's got coffee cup bases already coming out of his head. So yeah, he's going to be a good one. I'm excited to see him. So, I mean, and that's, so yeah, we got Nick, and then we've got guys that have just started to use some of the products. They don't have the system. They've got a product or two, those guys are working hard at it. That's all I can say about that. But just because they're just starting, they also, they got that, what you like to call, they got the Amazon effect, because they listened, they followed the program, they listened to what I was saying, they followed along with the system and put these products in the proper locations at that proper height, blah, blah, blah. And they got the reward. They got the big reward at the end. They killed their buck, and it's only going to get better for them, and they know it, and then we've got Dustin Brenton, another one of my customers turned into a good friend. That seems to be a pattern with this stuff. These guys start to use the stuff, and then wow, next thing you know, they're my friend. It's not, do I set out to do that? No, I'm absolutely not. That never is how it's meant to be. And does every customer turn into a friend? No, obviously not, because there's way too many for that. But Dustin, he was all in from the beginning. Him and I have been pretty good friends for quite a long time now. From the beginning of my venture, way back when in 2018, when I started all of this. He's been with me since then and has been as loyal as they come and using the system to its max. Not this past season because of he got married this past year and moved a new house, all that. So his hunting time was limited, new job, all this stuff. All great stuff.
That'll do it.
Great wife, she's a great girl, all that stuff. Well, now they didn't get to hunt last year very much, and now they've relocated again, new job again for him, so that's exciting. But now the good news for him is he's moved closer to the farms that he's hunting and that we're operating out of. So year before that, 2023, Dustin and his wife Sarah, not his wife yet, we're fiance. So Sarah goes out with her crossbow. Second day in the blind, I get a message. It wasn't daylight even. It wasn't even all the way daylight here. I get a message from Dustin saying, Sarah just shot a giant. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. He said, no. He said it came
Nice.
right to the food plot and came right to the scrape. She just drilled him. I watched him run off,
Nice.
and I think we saw him tip over. I said, well, let me know what you find. He waited for it to get good in daylight, and it was probably maybe 30 minutes max. I get a picture of a main beam. That's all I get is a main beam. And I thought, well, that's all I needed to see. So then we do that. That's at the end of Indiana's, just before their firearm season kicks off. I think it's actually the 2 days before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then 2 days later, it's Indiana's firearm opener.
Okay.
I get a message from Dustin about 5 minutes after daylight on that. No, it was in the afternoon, I think, that time. I get a message from Dustin, and it's a picture of another antler. And I'm thinking, all right, who this time? You get one this? Is this one you? Blah, blah. No. Nope. It's Sarah again with an even bigger one with her rifle. And this girl's a sniper now. She shot this deer in the eye.
Ooh.
From distance now. This wasn't it jumped up out of the bushes and startled her and she got it in the eye. No, this was a deliberate, we're going to knock you off your feet in the eye kind of thing. So back to back, man, personal best bucks off of our stuff, both right at our property, you know. One's a 10 and one's an 11. Gobs of footage of both these bucks, you know what I mean? All summer, all fall, into the season, again, just so now we get to move all the way back here to 2024 because I couldn't go without talking about Dustin and Sarah,
right.
You know,
absolutely,
because he's been honestly such an integral part in helping us do this, and Kelvin and Matthew Newsom, you know, that guy, you're not going to find a dude that works a system any harder than him and works at his deer management and his property management and all of this. You won't find anyone any more dedicated than that guy.
Okay.
His due's coming. You know, he's paid his dues. His day's coming. He's going to reap his reward one of these days. A big one's coming his way. You know, and I'm shouting all these guys these people that I'm shouting out are my core guys that have helped me get where we're at now. And the reason that you and I are actually sitting here, because if it wasn't for those guys helping me along and guys like you, there'd be no reason for me to be talking to you at all. It would just be me talking to myself, you know? And I've done that for a while too, to get where we're at. Just talk to myself and keep talking to myself, you know? And then so we'll skip right off of Matthew, you know, that dude, like I said, hardest working guy out there. And then we got my other buddy, Tim Dar, way out in West Memphis, Arkansas. You know, another one that's just as steady as they come. He's been there from the very, very beginning also. You know, the whole group of guys truly have been there, have had my back since 2018. You know, they've all been kind of rallied around whenever things would happen. I would stumble and fall. They were always the guys. You know, they would come in behind you and swoop behind you and stand you back up, brush you off a little bit, kick me in my ass and send me on my way. You know, say, move along. Right. We got things to do. Right. You know, and we all need guys like that. We do. Let me rephrase that. We all need people like that in our corner. You know, not just guys. You know, we need people in general in our corner to help us and lift us up. And stop trying to everybody wants to get ahead by beating another guy down, another person down, and making them look bad or trying to take something away from them, you know, and we've covered that, you and I, a million times, that that's not ever what you're going to get from us. I don't want to throw shade on people unless they need the shade thrown, you know, then they get a little.
Sometimes people need to hear the truth. You know, let's put it that way.
So off of my group of guys, which I couldn't finish this up without talking about them. You know, I had to. So thank you for letting me shout those guys out for sure.
Absolutely. Well, it's good to finally. It's good, we had a lot of build up to this final episode, and it's good to hear that the success stories behind this, and these are just limited success
Oh,
stories. Like this isn't all of them. No,
no.
this is just a few hand picked ones that we're talking about, and I'm excited for my friend here in Ohio who just got some of your stuff in. I think him and I next Tuesday are going to get together in the morning and go out and walk around and get him set up in a couple spots. So I'm excited to start seeing his photos start
Me
coming in,
too.
so we can share them with you and look forward to his season, how it goes. So it's just an
They're coming in
exciting thing. Like
again. Every time we do this, the pictures start coming in.
more. Hopefully, you'll get another phone call. Last time we lost you.
No, I told everybody that might call tonight. Don't call me tonight.
Don't call. But it's just it's an exciting time because I know what it's capable of doing. At least what it's capable of starting, and how quickly it can happen.
Yeah,
I've said before, had them within a couple hours. As a matter of fact, I've had them that came in because I made a scrape and hunt and literally sat there that day,
yeah,
that night, and I had does come into that already.
yeah,
Like, and then another buck came in and made a scrape behind
yeah,
it. Like,
yeah,
a little guy, one in. If somebody would have been happy with him, fine. It just wasn't exactly what I was looking for, but still, that excitement that buck came in. Hey, what's going on here? And then he made his own scrape.
yeah.
I'm like, this is the kind of stuff you can expect to start seeing to happen, and it can be as almost as immediate. It can almost be immediately.
Exactly.
So, and
Sometimes yes,
sometimes it takes
sometimes
a little
no.
bit,
You know what I mean? Very,
right?
very rarely are you going past 48 hours without your first visit.
Right.
Very rarely.
So,
We talked about this before too, that you can't please everybody all the time, right? I mean, you just can't.
no.
I was pretty excited to see I got my first 1-star review. So I was glad to see that on so truly, I'm not even being sarcastic about that or anything. I truly was kind of excited to see it, because
Right.
it was the 1-star review in the 59 reviews that I have. So
Right.
I guess I'll take one bad one out of
Yeah.
58 good ones, Thanks.
Yeah. It's gonna
It is,
happen.
and I'm truly glad to see it. Like we've talked about, I have no apprehensions of making the whole world happy because we both know that I'm not making the whole world happy at all.
I'm not here to make everyone happy.
No, I don't get paid to make people happy.
Nope.
Oh,
And
wait,
I
do I
think
get
there's
paid? Do I get paid for this? I forgot.
I don't know, do you?
I don't know. I can't remember. I'll have to ask somebody that's more important and got bigger title than me.
Right.
See who's got, somebody's got to have more rank. But oh yeah, back to one more success story. One more.
All
This
right.
is a good one,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
the deer hunting and the mock scrape industry is almost an impossibility in the South, in your southern tier of states. Okay. And by
Okay.
the South, I'm talking about the Carolinas. Okay. Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, Florida. Okay.
Okay.
That's the South. Very difficult to get deer to react to scrapes there. Virtually impossible to get them to hit a rope, vine, any of that. So
Is it because of the pressure down there, or what is it? What?
it's the and from what I've gathered through my own
Mm-hmm.
research and my own watching cameras over the last 5 years. And I won't try to trick anybody into thinking I know more than I do because I've only been watching the South for 5 years really steadily and really paying attention to what goes on down there. And I truly
Mm-hmm.
think that it has something specific to do with the subspecies of deer in the South. I think they're just a
Okay.
little bit different, hardwired just a little bit different, and they don't
Okay.
quite run the same system in their mind as the deer do, say the Midwest, Ohio,
Okay.
even up all the way up into Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia. While that's still in a lot of people's minds, those are still southern states. That's not the deep South. You're not in a deep South state till you hit Georgia, and I'm probably even middle Georgia before you're in the deep South, in my opinion. But North Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia, that specific area is very difficult to get mock scrapes to work. And I finally got someone to agree to just try it. I didn't want anyone to buy it. I said, I'm looking for someone to try it. I'll send it to you. So he says, okay, well, it's not going to work, but go ahead and send it to me. So I sent him 3 bottles of Scrape Magic. He went out, put it out. And the same night that he put it out, he messaged me and asked me what it was. He said, I have never seen deer down here react like this to anything in my life. And he's a Florida native. He lives there. He killed his first buck on our stuff this past January. Actually, it was February 2nd. He killed it. And already had replacement bucks back in that scrape, working that licking branch. So that's how I ended my 2024 season, was in 2025 with my first Florida buck. And it's just strictly on the Scrape Magic. It's not any of our other products there. He has our products. And this is how I know in my own mind that it's just, you're going to have to find a better way down there. Use actual the fauna down there, and not try to introduce something not native or not normal. Because in that same scrape that we're talking about down there, he hung just a rope, and the deer abandoned the scrape immediately. As soon as the rope went there, they abandoned it. I left it for 3 days. We left it, and you could see the deer skirt it on the camera. And this was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. I said, well, so on the end of the 3rd day, I said, take it out, move it, remove it. He went in and he took it out, and that same day, within 2 hours, the deer were right back on that licking branch again, as soon as the rope was taken away. So it was the rope. You know what I mean? It was that rope. They hated it. They didn't do it. They wouldn't do it. The only place we found in Florida that we can get them to hit a rope like that is if we hang it way low in a palmetto bush or something like that and stick it out. You don't hang it down, you stick it out. They seem to like things that are this way, sticking out in their face. So, but I don't want to go too deep into what I know and what I don't know about that, because I mean, there's some stuff there that we've learned that are truly going to change the game for what we're doing in the South. And what other guys are going to do in the South. You know, we have a retail location now in Florida because of it, because of what's gone on in some of our test sites. So we're getting ready to kick it off in South Florida next month. The rut's getting ready to happen down there. So July.
Yeah, it's one of those weird states that happens in the middle of the year.
There's a rut going on somewhere in Florida the whole year. So, but we're gonna start off there in July, and but man, what a season, what a year.
Yeah. You know, what a couple of years, to be honest with you.
Right. What a couple. Yeah. I mean, and just what a start, right? Take something from nothing, to take it from nowhere, and look at us, look at this. Yeah. Because of everyone around us, truthfully. Like I've said before, I've told you that before, without everybody around me, standing behind me, my wife. I mean, I've talked about all these other guys, and my wife, she deserves 10 medals, man, for putting up with everything she's put up with in the last 27 years. Not just this mock scrape thing, man. The woman's a saint,
Yeah.
To deal with this, she goes never hesitates to go on the road, to work a booth, to talk to a customer, just.
Well, she has my thanks, that's for sure.
What's that?
She has my thanks, that's for sure.
Oh, she's she deserves everybody's thanks, truthfully, because she's the one that keeps me from doing a lot of things I shouldn't do when it comes to guys on the other end. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and the reward is great for everyone, not just our customers. I mean, I'm truly reaping the greatest reward because I get to watch everyone else,
Right.
get theirs, to finally get theirs, and they get their success when maybe they weren't getting it before or never had it before, and then I got it,
All of a sudden, here it
and
is
there
in
it
front
is,
of them.
and that's why I'm so appreciative of you taking all this time, man, to run this whole series and the three we did before. I mean, I feel like we're seriously changing things together, and I
Well,
appreciate that, and I appreciate the
it's
voice.
you, my man. It's you, my man. And I appreciate you taking the time and putting your trust into sitting and talking to me about this. Because when we met in Columbus, you didn't know me from
No,
Adam.
well,
So,
you didn't
and
know me either.
no pun intended, but you took a chance, and listen, I've asked a lot of people, there's been others I've asked to be on here, and I get a couple yeses, I get a couple, just ghosted, right? And even the ones who say yes, sometimes I get ghosted by them too.
Yeah,
And not talking anything bad about you guys that have done that.
yeah.
Don't get upset. I understand. I totally understand. But I appreciate that you took the chance to come on here and spread the word of what your system, what you're doing, and how to raise the bar when it comes to deer hunting. And I appreciate that. I appreciate your attitude towards it and what it is that you're the connections you're trying to make, which is very important. It's an art that's lost. And you can see it in almost every company that exists today that eventually went from ground level where you're at, that blew up and became something else. And now it's just a shell of what they used to be.
Yeah.
And it's not, those connections are gone.
Yep.
And that's the one thing I think in today's world that we've forgotten about. What is so important is those connections that we make.
Well, and then
And
when
it's not
the connections, and you just can't forget where you came from.
no.
Can't forget what got you where you are, and you talk about these other companies that become a shell of what they were. Well, it's because they grow too big. I
Right.
mean, and I worry about that, truthfully. I think about that. At this point, is it just a pipe dream and a reality? Yeah, it is. But the reality is it could switch in a minute, you know.
Yeah, but there's enough companies out there who are big
I
who still
watched
have that
I watched
who
what
still have that.
happened to us last
Mhm.
year, all because of one video. You know what I mean? I know how fast this can turn and just
Mhm.
explode into a giant thing, uh,
Mhm.
because it happened. You know what I mean? Last year,
Yeah.
all because of one guy in one video that just lit things up, and it happens on a regular basis now, where we talk. I
Mhm.
go somewhere and I talk on a podcast or whatever the case may be, and then bang, we get whacked again. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I know with the right exposure and just with the right choices, we're gonna
Right.
be all right. We're gonna continue to grow, and that's all I can hope for, is we continue to grow and
Right.
get better.
You know, then I think you're well on your way to doing that as word starts to get out and stuff, and the people see the success that they can have, or at least really realize what success is, and how to gauge that success. And I think you do a good job communicating that to people, and the time you take to talk, and you've been on other podcasts, and it's not,
Yeah,
it's those times that you take to go out and get yourself out there and let people hear you from you, right? It's one thing if I sit and tell you, if I get on here and start giving praises towards, the scrape doctor and scrape magic, that's one thing, right? But when you come on here, you're the person who's behind the chair. Like, you're the person who's running the show. Well, let's be honest, your wife's running the show.
right, right.
But
Let's be realistic about who's in
let's
charge.
be, let's be real, right? Our wives are the ones who run the show. But let's but you're the one that's behind it. And when people hear you talk about it and the successes that you've gained, you've garnered, the stories you've got from people, the connections you've made, that's what makes it special, right? And I think when we talked about the companies that lose their way, that's that's one of the things is they start outsourcing their stuff. They lost their way. They're not the person that you talk to anymore.
Right.
And there are large companies out there, right? Look at Matthews. Matthews is owned still by that family. It's their company. They're huge. They're probably the number one selling bow brand in America, if not internationally, right? They're still big, but they're still good. And they still hold they still hold their beliefs. So I think there's not to sit there and stroke their ego any, but I think that's a model to at least look at about growth and becoming large, but yet not losing your way.
Right.
So it can be done. It can be done. So I just tell you that so you don't get like worried about it. So you don't leave and have these deep seated fears, because there is a way to do it.
Oh, for sure.
And there's also a way not to do it. If Fairdyne comes knocking on your door, hey, we'd like to give you X amount of money for this. You might want to think about that,
Yeah. Well,
or whoever else is out there, and they'll probably get a nasty gram about that at some point, but whatever.
I might, but I'm okay with nasty grams. It's it's a grain of salt. There are bigger fish. There are bigger fish to fry than nasty grams. I have other things to do. So,
right.
We're
James,
really cranking it up, and let's. I'm excited, man. This season's going to be the best yet. I'm sure.
It's going to get better. Every season it's going to get better, and you're going to get more and more feedback. And I like your attitude you got to, hey, I finally got my first 1-star review, and I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
A lot of people get angry when they 1-star, what? But hey, we all take those in the chins. Half the time it's just people who don't really mean what they're saying anyways. They're just miserable people. But sometimes there's some valuable feedback. If you want to give a 1-star review, then give their feedback on what failed or why it failed. And that's something we can look at to maybe help you to correct, or maybe that's something that we need to correct, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, and reading the 1-star review, the answer was there. You know what I mean? It was not even the answer why I got the 1-star review was in the review, but it wasn't our fault. Again, back to customer error.
Right.
And it's in the review, so that's okay.
Listen, I was a firearms instructor. I know what it means to be customer error. Everyone's like, something's off of my sight. It's always something but them. A totally different side of customer service, I guess, but still the same principles.
You're right about that, my man.
Well, James, it's been a journey. It's been quite the journey that we've had over the last, the last 5 episodes. We've actually spent about 5, collectively almost, I bet you we probably spent about 6-7 hours together now on just this series alone, let alone the 6 or 7 we had last time, if not more.
Yeah, so I think the last time was pushing 12 hours actually, because those were 2 hours solid.
Yeah, we were pushing.
It was long,
and it doesn't include the outside conversations we had before and after we started recording. Right. So, well, man, I hate to say it, but all good things have to come to an end, and this is the end of our little mini series. And I know we're going to have more together. It's going to happen. Absolutely. We'll get together, put our heads together, and come up with something else. But for this mini series, this one's coming to an end. So. Absolutely. With that being said, what do you want to leave the people with? What's some final words that you want to leave them with?
We're gonna just leave off with what we always leave off with, Sean. Memories are forever, and they're free, and everybody should get out there and make some.
Absolutely. Well, James, I cannot thank you enough for the time you've taken out of your days to sit down and talk to little old me, to help get your word out, and I appreciate every moment of that. And I certainly hope that the listeners appreciate it as well. I know that I've got people coming to me now saying that they're going back and listening to them, and they're sold, and they're hooked, and they're ready to move forward with it. And I just hope that continues to grow, not for me, but for you. Like I'm rooting for you, and I hope that you make the growth that you want it to be, and you have the success that you want with this. And like I said, I can't thank you enough for the time and effort, and just the advice, and just the conversations, and then the friendship that you and I have created since last year at Columbus. So I appreciate that. And ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate all of you as you sat and listened to us talk. This is another hour-thon from us. But this is it. This is the fifth and final episode. This is the rewards. I hope you guys appreciated the stories that James shared with us about the successes of his program and his system with other people, and even digging deep down that deep south where it's starting to take off down there as well, which sounds like it's pretty impenetrable. Easy for me to say, but it's down there working for him down there and starting to work. But with that being said, once again, folks, I appreciate you so much. If you would, please take the time to follow the show, follow the Scrape Doctor on his social media accounts, and also check him out at scrapedoctor.com. But until our experiences cross paths again, may you have the courage to fail, but yet the humility to learn. And as always, we do hope you stay safe out there. And God bless you. Thank you for listening to the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. Before you go, don't forget to leave us a review and follow the show on the podcast platform of your choice. Are you hungry for more Country Fried Outdoors? Then follow us on Instagram at Country Fried Outdoors, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Country Fried Outdoor Productions.